What's up? So, let's do a little bit of just a little bit of lo-fi, cause why not? You know what I mean? Welcome back to the Road to Fitness podcast. If you had not been here before, welcome. If you have been here before, welcome. Fantastic. All right. So today's topic is gonna be macronutrients. Honestly, I'm just gonna go and nothing scripted. I'll tell you that right now. So a lot of the times you'll notice me kind of just thinking or trying to reach for my brain or look at some quick things online just so I could kind of give you a, like, for example, right now I want to give you the definition of macronutrients, you know, but of what they say scientifically, kind of, sort of. um, and then I'll explain it in my own words. So let's go. Macronutrients is basically going to be as defined by the dictionary: a type of food, fat, protein, carbohydrate, etc., required in large amounts in the diet. A chemical element like potassium, magnesium, or calcium is required in large amounts for plant growth and development. So, macronutrients, there's two types of things, right? There's macros, which is macronutrients, and there is micronutrients, which is smaller things. So, macronutrients, which is what we're going to be talking about, are I guess the main big things before they break down into micro. What's up, Rasco? Hey man, since you here, bro, let me know. Do you think do you think the lighting is good, bro? How's it look? How's the lighting, my guy? It's good. Know what I mean? Let me know. All right, but anyway, let's keep going, right? So, FYI, we're live too. So if you're listening to this after the fact, we might, be answering some questions, or people might be dropping in to say what's up. And anybody watching, what's up? But yeah, macronutrients are gonna be the bigger things. Look spot on. I appreciate it, boy. So, yeah. So we're talking about the things, or like the foods, before they break down into micronutrients, which would be like vitamins, minerals. All right. So let's start off with, and I'll be talking about probably all three today. So let's start off with protein, right? So let's start off with the definition, the dictionary definition, and then I'll go into like my own explanation of proteins. So basically, a protein is any class of nitrogenous organic compounds that consist of large molecules composed of one or more long chain of amino acids and are an essential part of all living organisms, especially as structural components of the body tissues such as muscle, hair, collagen, etc., and as enzymes and antibodies, a protein found in wheat. Proteins collectively, especially proteins collectively, especially as a dietary component, a diet high in protein. I don't think that makes sense. It almost sounded like I read it wrong a couple of times, but I didn't. I don't know who wrote that, but that's what they said, boy. That's what they said. Nah, but seriously though, in my own words, basically, protein is a bunch of amino acids put together, and that's protein. Which is funny because I used to work at Vitamin Shop, and I used to Joel. since you out here, bro, let me know how the audio sounds too, cause I don't know if I want to be closer to the mic, like this, or if I could be far like this. So let me know. But yeah, so I used to work at Vitamin World, a couple years ago, before my, my whole training career situation. Um, and I used to, should be better. But yeah, I used to ask myself, if protein is basically amino acids, would me drinking amino acids be the same as eating protein? You know what I'm saying? Because they sell amino acids um, in supplement form, So yeah, it's a wild question. Wild question I had a long time ago. Technically, they're technically the same thing, but whatever. If you are eating, so maybe, all right, here, try this. Let me try this. What about this, Joel? But yeah, I'm gonna stay close, and then we'll close to the mic, and then we'll go from there, and then let me know how it sounds. But yeah, so proteins, sources of those are usually, the common, mostly meats, but it's found everywhere. Cause like I said, amino acids is what it basically is, and amino acids are almost everywhere. It's different amino acids, but that's a different subject we could talk about for a podcast because there's too many. But yeah, so you can find them in pork, beef, chicken, any animal. Like really any animal that you eat is gonna have protein. You do have obviously the vegetarian or vegan route where there is a lot of fruits and vegetables, mainly vegetables, legumes, and all that have protein. So there's that. I mean, I could just go into a little list of what has protein if you want me to, but yeah, now sounds okay. Appreciate it, Jewels. Man, I'm happy you came through, bro. Alright, so, but yeah, we got these proteins, right? So that's their sources mainly. In supplement form, well, let me give you some options. I mean, it's not hard to obviously look up on Google, so I'm gonna do that and then let you know, so you don't have to look it up. But yeah, the two main food groups that contribute protein are like lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, tofu, nuts and seeds, legumes, beans, milk, yogurt, cheese. So those are like the main things. Like when you look for a meal, you want to have at least one of those. And then the list is bigger than that. You know what I mean? But definitely, every time you have a meal, you want to have some sort of source of protein. So there's that. It also comes in supplement forms, obviously, right? So it's 2021, which is the great thing that they have so many more sources of protein. For example, they have casein, they have whey, they have isolate, they have pea, they have they have a lot of variations of vegan forms of protein. Collagens. I mean, there's a lot now, which is funny because when I was at World Vitamin World, the vegan proteins, like there wasn't that many selections. There was only a couple, so that's interesting. That I don't know how long it's been, like 10 years. The amount of progression that was made from then to now, of like the availability of variations of protein, is pretty awesome. Because a lot of people would come, and be like, oh, whether it was religious reasons or personal reasons, they would come for vegan, items, and they wouldn't find them. Which honestly, as far as the supplement goes, is my preferred form of protein. Mainly because of dairy. I don't really eat dairy unless it's cheese, and that's sometimes if it's a meal that requires cheese. You know what I mean? That's a different topic too, but we'll get to that later. Be looking forward to a lot of podcasts about a lot of things, And if you guys want to want to hear about some sort of topic, let me know. I'm down to start talking about it in a later podcast too. That'd be great. But yeah, so protein, you know, basically, that's the first thing, and I'll talk about why they're important and why people eat proteins, um, and why it's important to consume them and all that. But this before that, let's just finish off the three, primary macronutrients, and then we'll go from there. So next up, we got, let's go carbohydrates. Uh, Carbs have such a negative um, reputation, because unfortunately, carbohydrates are everywhere. Like, they are literally almost on anything and everything unless it's water. And not all carbs are bad. I mean, it could be a carbohydrate that's that's like on broccoli, so that's fiber, so that we'll talk about that. But not all carbohydrates are bad, and you need carbohydrates. That's just how it is. You know what I mean? So let's go ahead and go on. So we got ourselves the carbs. Let's go to the definition, and then I'll give you a little just of what a carb is. The definition is any large group of organic compounds occurring in foods and living tissues. It includes sugars, starch, cellulose. They contain hydrogen and oxygen in the same ratio as water, and typically can be broken down to release energy in the animal body. Water soluble carbohydrates, for example. Food consisting of or containing a lot of carbohydrates. Little example they have is, before the event, I will starve myself of carbohydrates and need a lot of protein. Um, so basically, carbs are just what the body uses as immediate energy. If that's I don't know if I should be using those words, but I just want to give a summary of what it is, right? So carbohydrates are just used as energy. Obviously, over consuming them is where the problem lies. But we need carbohydrates. The body stores it, so we could use it throughout the day. Depending on activities, you might need them, right? So that's why a lot of although it is exaggerated, there is some extremists that are doing it wrong. Technically, there is some truth to when people are gonna do a marathon, or when they're about to do an event. You have those little sugar packets, or like the little goo packets, or they say, I'm gonna load up on carbs. You're about to work out, type of thing. Like, there's some truth to that, but I do think that there's some extremists on that note. So, like, if they do like a whole bowl of pasta, like, bro, you're overdoing the chill. So, and then depending on the carb, you can have yourself different reactions. I mean, some carbs release slower than others, and some release like on the spot. Uh, so yeah, a carb is basically energy, and then, like I said, carbs are everywhere. But instead of telling you on what foods they're on, because they're on every freaking food basically, I'll kind of tell you the different types of carbs in basic form. So for example, there's like sugars, right? I don't know if you've heard, like, they say chips are like empty calories. Like, yeah, there's like no nutritional value, but you're still getting the carbs, which is really the problem with most of the food, of why we're a society of overweightness, I guess you could say. A lot of the foods they make the food that has this physical form, so you're still consuming the carbohydrates, but there's no nutritional value because you're just eating carbs. So potato chips, like bagged potato chips, is a great example of that. Yeah, there's like sugars. That could be like alcohol. That could be actual sugar. That could be some fruits. That could be, snacks, junk food, really. You know. Um, then there's the more healthier carbs that could be stuff like, let's just say, mid healthy, better than empty carbs, like potatoes and such. Like real fruit, real food that's not like made. Um, See, that's a tricky way of wording it. So real food like vegetables, fruits, you know, is better than like buying packaged like ramen or all that kind of stuff. So that's why they say a lot of cooking at home makes a difference, but it also makes a difference what kind of fruits and veggies you buy. But that's a different topic. And then you have your healthiest form, which is like basically the fiber carbs, right? Most fibers you don't you don't absorb, like you basically just poop them out. Like that's why they say califerous, if that's the right pronunciation. Um, Foods are one of the best things to eat because of the fiber content in them. Aside many more benefits, but they have this fiber, you know, surplus. I want to say where you eat, you're full, you get your healthy carbs, you get your fiber, and you poop it out, and it didn't get absorbed and stored and then converted into fat. So that's one of those. And then we'll go more in depth with carbs, but that's the gist of it. And now let's move on to proteins. We talked about proteins. Let's move on to fats. Fats, yet again. I think fats are the good guy that's made out to be the bad guy. You know what I mean? Um, we need fats, like we do, and this is just a fact. A fact. We need fats. We need fats, carbs, and protein. Period. But I think people avoid fats so much that it's misunderstood. Like when even if as I was growing up until I became a trainer and then research nutrition and got my certificates and all that. Like I also thought fat was bad. So the misconception of fat is what kills me the most. Because you have all these fat-free products. All right, give me a second. But yeah, you have all these fat-free products or low fat, and even up to this day, like people I know, family members or even like friends, family are like, oh, fat-free or fat-free milk or whatever the case, and it's like, dang man, that's not a that's not the best option. You're literally making a complete um, food into an incomplete food because of the fat. And obviously, it depends on what you're eating and what kinds of fats. That's the other tricky part about fats. And I do think that if you're looking to complete your meal like fat, protein, and carbs, you will have the hardest time eating the right amount of fats because it's pretty hard. I used to grab a spoonful or 2 tablespoons and have to drink them separately because it's not that easy if you think you're consuming too many fats. But I mean that depends too, on what you're eating. But some of the different fats they have, they have saturated, unsaturated, monounsaturated. There's too many types of fats, and they do all different things. And yeah, there's some bad ones, and just like there's some bad ones, there's some good ones, and like they say, the traditional old school saying of too much of a good thing is still a bad thing, and that still that resonates truth, So uh, you'll notice as I talk about a lot of things, one of my biggest go-to things is balance is key, and that's it's easier said than done, but a little bit of everything in moderate amounts is how it should be, right? The easiest way I can tell you about fats and how to, you know, where you can get your sources from fats is cook with one oil that's a high temperature oil. So, for example, let's say coconut oil, because that's a pretty common one that people use. And then a low temperature oil, and that could be something common like olive oil, right? So you cook your high temperature foods with coconut, low temperature with olive oil, and then there you go. You have yourself your balance, right? Those are just two examples, but I mean, if you go out there, you'll notice they have avocado oil, which I use a lot. They have grapeseed oil, which I use a lot. They got flaxseed oil. I mean, there's so many types of oils, and they are more pricey. I'm not gonna lie, they really are. But if you buy, two bottles or two containers, you'll run through it less. And you know, I also use grass-fed butter, honestly, too, for some stuff. But that's not the only way to get your fats. You got stuff like you see people all the time about avocados. There's a lot of forms, different ways to grab your fats. Yeah, that's one of the justs of that. As far as um your mixture, right? So let's talk about why they're all important to the body, and then let's also talk about the balance of all three. The first thing I want to state is everybody's body is different. Um, just the same way it looks like outside, like we all look different, is the same way we're all structured. We're all structured differently. Different foods are gonna do different things for all of us. um, you know what I mean? So just keep that in mind. So like if you hear like two people, two siblings, two boys can have the same exact diet and have the same exact workout routine, and they might both experience two different results. You know what I'm saying? So if you hear that one of your friends is trying something, and you try it too, I mean, I'm not stopping you from trying it, so try it out. But if it doesn't work out, just know that specific routine is not for you, because your bodies are not the same. You know, there's a story I remember way back, when I first started reading about, doing my nutrition certificates and all that. One of the guys trained two Olympic athletes that lived together, so similar scenario. So he gave them both a program. Gave one of them a program and gave the second one a program. And the one of them was getting results like fast, and then the other one noticed like, oh man, why is that person getting results so much faster, and it's taking me too long to get these results. So that person stopped their routine and started doing the other person's routine, and then things got even worse because they started gaining weight versus like getting leaner, like bad weight. So that being said, the guy, went back and kind of reevaluated and said, hey, well, what's going on? Let's change some things in your diet. And they admitted, like, oh, I haven't done it because I did that person's since it was working for them. And more story was like they just had to tweak some stuff, because that's one misconception too. Like if a nutritionist or trainer or whoever is giving you advice and they know what they're talking about, right? For example, we're making like an educated guess on what is gonna work best for your body, but if that isn't working for your body, then we have plan A, plan B, plan C of what other option there is for your specific body. And then there's so many things too. You gotta think about, like, I remember one of my ex coworkers, Rob Bale, shout out. He used to use the example of a car breaking down, right? Or a car having some sort of issue. He would say, just tell people like it's like a car. When you take your car to a mechanic, you know, and you tell them, oh, it's making this weird noise. The mechanic, might visually look at it or just kind of know stuff and be like, oh, it might be this, and they'll never tell you like. I mean, sometimes some will, but I think that you should always do some in depth looking. But they might tell you like, oh, it might be this, but I have to look at it. Then they start looking at it, turning stuff on and off and checking, and it's like, oh yeah, it's this. And sometimes if it's a little bit more of a so that's plan A, right? We give you the plan, and it kind of didn't work, but we kind of assumed it might be that. If it didn't work, we checked in it in depth, and it didn't work out. Then that's when they would pull out a they could pull out a diagnostics check, so like the little check engine little thing, plug it in or check the computers or whatever, and it'll tell the person, the mechanic, exactly what's going on with that person. So, in that same sense, sometimes, even after a couple of tweaks, we might still require, like, let's say some blood work you can get done, or some sort of tests that are recommended by that individual. Not like, I'm not saying by like your doctor and you got a whole comprehensive panel and you came to and like, oh, everything was fine. Like there's some tests out there that we could do that help us figure out what could be an issue based off of what we know. So some tests that we used to do was like cortisol test, a different like dietitian version of a comprehensive panel. There was food allergens. There's a lot of different ways to go about it. So, and I know I sidetracked for like about 10 minutes about knowing your body, but I think that's one of the key things you're gonna need to know, to not just assume everything's gonna work for you. So that being said, protein, fats, and carbs. Protein, carbs, and fats. However you wanna. I know people have their own way of like saying what's first, but it's whatever. The three things. So let's go with Tell your mano, baby. Tell your mano. Hello, you. Alright, so in a basic form, protein is important. Is an important part of the healthy diet because proteins are made up of chemical building blocks called amino acids, which we talked about, right? And then your body uses these amino acids to build and repair muscles, bones, and make hormones and enzymes. They can also be used as an energy source, but that's if you like overshoot it, which can then lead to liver issues. But whatever. Let's not talk about that. Which actually, yeah, let's talk about. You know what? Before I keep going with that, let's talk about that. Over consuming protein. I did it a lot. So, just like protein, fats, and carbs, there's a balance and there's an amount that you should be doing, and over consuming is where the problem is. So, proteins is, I think, everything is over consumed. But proteins is one of those things that I do think that is misunderstood, because I remember when I first became a trainer, and I was at a gym, and I would work out, and then I would go straight to the little smoothie bar, protein bar, and I would order a like a protein plus drink or something. I don't remember, but I know that it was delicious. But I know it had 66 grams of protein or something like that. And after that, I would go home and I would eat, because I was, in my brain, from what I had heard or known about, protein was like the most common like post workout thing. You have to drink your protein shake after you work out or whatever. So I was having my 60 grams of protein, and on top of that, I was having my meal at home. So let me just say, it's too much protein, you know. There is different versions of how much protein you should consume. Um, let's look it up. What they recommend, just to see some different. This is actually pretty decent. So yeah, I actually like this one. It's not bad. There's different versions, and there's. Let me just say before I keep going with this, so how many protein grams you need a day. Like I said, everybody's body is different. There's different protein intakes for different situations of the day. So, your day, your morning one, it might be different from your nighttime, or your rest day one might be different from your workout one, depending how many times a week you work out. So, definitely reach out to a professional, and do your research on that person too, because I am guilty of believing certain things in my first like year of being a trainer versus now. I don't know how long it's been. Probably like 10 years still. But whatever. Like over the time, you learn so much, and you learn how wrong you were. You know what I mean? So in the beginning, I would have been like, "Yeah, take a protein." Warzone. What's up, Ruda? Damn, man, I'll hop on like in maybe like 30 minutes or so if you still have some space, bro. But yeah, I used to tell people like, "Oh yeah, take this protein powder, bro. Take these take this pre workout or whatever. Like take these amino, because you used to throw supplements, and I used to spend like $300 on supplements every month. So like, your information as you grow as a professional changes. So like, when you go and ask somebody like a trainer or whatever they are for advice, just make sure they know what they're talking about, because I used to give out the wrong information, and I wish I knew then, but I know now. But this one seems pretty decent. Um, so 0.36 grams of protein per pound. So it's not a lot of protein. You know what I'm saying? It's not a lot. Like this would mean that a person, like an average person, would probably consume 56 grams a day. A female would consume like 46, based off of this little article here, which seems pretty legit. Like I remember my oh, Warzone. Yeah, I'll hop on, bro. Like 30 minutes or so. But but yeah. So like I would you would consume these things, right? You would consume no, I would consume I would consume like 15 to 20 grams, maybe 25 grams of protein per meal, and you'd be like, dang, bro, that's not a lot. 'Cause that's that's all you need. You overshoot. You overconsume protein, then that means that's gonna turn into fat or carbs, and you're gonna store it because your body didn't use it. And if then you overshoot, some people get like kidney stones and all that because of it. So be cautious of what you're. Be cautious of how much you're consuming that stuff. You know what I mean? All right. But yeah, so obviously, yeah, it's used to. Like one of the biggest things it's known for is I see you in 30. What's up, baby? You gonna help him? All right. So one of those biggest things, you got the rebuilding muscles. It's super known for like muscle repair. And what's up, baby? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry, baby. I'm sorry, baby. Okay. Go get the pink tablet. All right. But yeah, you got yourself that big thing, the muscle repair, which is true. It it does help when it breaks down. It does help repair some muscle. Um, so there's that. Then you got definitely the bones. And here's the thing, right? When you say I don't know if people know what an enzyme is, but there's different types of enzymes, and they do a lot of things, and they're super crucial to the body. I feel like I should make a whole podcast on enzymes, because it's not something people talk about a lot, and they are very important to like normal everyday health. Because all we think about personally is like, oh, muscles or my bones, joints, or my weight. You know what I mean? But hormones and enzymes, man, They're key. They're key to body function. All right, let's go to carbs. So carbohydrates are the body's main source of energy, and I said that like I said before, immediate energy, because that's just what it uses throughout the day. You know what I mean? Um, so like when they say you, you know when they used to say like, oh you burn 2,000 calories a day or whatever. It's like those carbs and some stored fats. You know what I mean? Um, and they're stored all over the body, your muscles, freaking everywhere. So like the reason why the people say if you cut down in proteins, I mean if you cut down in fats, they'll start using protein and fat as energy. Um, so that being said, I don't want to get too far into like low carb diets, and I don't want to get too far into um, like keto and all that yet. But I will make a podcast on that stuff. But this is where people make a mistake of saying, "Oh, I'm not gonna consume carbs because then my body will use fats as energy or protein." Um, it's true, again, to a degree. So this is why people fast. You know, like if you fast 5 days, your body will um, start burning off your fats, which is true. I fasted for 5 days and I did it a lot, and I actually leaned out pretty well. But the you know, there's ways to do it. There's timing to it. There's things you can and cannot consume. But anyway, the problem with that misconception is that you also have to think about not just the macronutrient, because that's what we're talking about. But if you mess with the macronutrients, like I just said with the protein has to do with your muscles, your bones, your hormones, your enzymes, a couple more things. So if you mess with protein, it's gonna mess with your other stuff, right? Same thing happens with the other macronutrients. If you mess with like carbs, for example, that that can mess with your insulin. You can mess with your cortisol. It can mess. So like it's one of those things that like don't just try to change too much too fast for starters, and then don't just ignore it like it's a bad thing because carbs are important. You just have to consume them correctly and responsibly, I guess you could say. But yeah, keep that in mind. Don't just get rid of carbs because you think they're bad for you, because they're not. It just depends what kind of carb you consume and how much. But yeah, it's the most it's the primary energy consuming. Alright, fat. Why is fat important? They're essential to give your body energy, to support cell growth. They help protect organs and keep your body warm. Fat helps your body absorb some nutrients and produce important hormones too. This is true, and I'm sure you knew that. So yeah, fats again are one of those like things that are like you see those people go to like 3% fat and all that, and it's cool for like competitions and all that, because it's temporary. But once you start messing with fats and getting rid of too much fat, it starts messing with your hormones too, because you need it. You need it for your brain. You need it for your body, joints, like freaking everything, man. Your organs, your hormones. You know what I mean? So like in the beginning, I said just remember, one, everybody's body is different. So depending on your body type and how your body is, you might need different amounts of protein, carbs, and fats. A lot of people use that percentage thing, 30, 40, 30, because that's like for the comment, like, here's a quick little thing, but it's more to that. Your height, your age, your weight, your daily lifestyle has a lot to do with it. But anyway, so just my main focus for this podcast, although I have talked about a lot of stuff, is protein, carbs, and fats are important macronutrients, and I just want you to know that they affect everything. They affect everything in your body. If you think about it, right? If your body was just laying down and you ate nothing, you would die. And what keeps you alive? What will you eat? And, you know, it's that simple. Just feed your body good things, a balance of good things, so that your body keeps running. You know what I'm saying? You know, like that car reference I was talking about earlier. When you go to the mechanic, I mean, when you go to the like auto shop or wherever you get your engine oil or your your lubricants and all that, your car parts and all that. I mean, I'm sure you don't just you might, but I'm sure most of the time you don't just aim for the cheapest thing. You probably get like a nice expensive thing or like or one that you know is reliable or that people say it's good. So like that's one of the things, like it's the same thing with your body. Like give it like if you see physical things out in the world and you're like, oh man, this is a thing that like it's a cool object, like that's a cool car, that's cool, like I want that, I want the best of everything, I want that fancy thing. Like why can't you do that with your body? You know what I mean? Why can't you love your body and the stuff you give it? Like why can't that be the best of the best? You know what I mean? So go look for good sources of proteins. Grass fed, free range, free range, wild caught. Go look for the good sources, man, because your body is you. Um, if you're looking for fruits and veggies, go look for clean fruits and veggies. Like doesn't always have to be organic, but you know aim for it. And honestly, if you if you did the math and saw how much you spend on groceries before you buy healthy stuff, right? You make a list and then you write down, all right, this is how much I'm going to spend on groceries, the essential amount, not like the overeating protein and the overeating carbs and undereating fats. Like the a good amount, you'll realize that you spend more now over consuming than you would if you ate the right amounts. You know what I mean? So for example, like I'll sit down. I used to sit down and write down like I'm gonna need like 30 pounds of or 20 pounds of meat or something for me and my family. You know what I mean? I'm gonna need this many a pound of rice or whatever. Like you write it, you don't over purchase. You know what I mean? Like that's the biggest thing about it. You don't over purchase because you know how much of what you need per meal. So you already like pre-plan how many like tomatoes to buy, how many potatoes to buy. You don't just buy a sack. You just buy like three. You know what I mean? So start looking into the whole balance of everything of not over consuming anything because that's the biggest problem. You know what I mean? Your body's gonna burn energy, but us over consuming things is what's making it is distorting the hormones. It's distorting the body's function to function normally, and it's not. It's simple. You know what I mean? It sucks because we crave things like, oh man, I want the chocolate or I want some chips or I want to eat out. But when you start realizing cooking your meal at home and you're like, man, this is delicious. That was not that bad. I mean, you might, and that's the thing. Convenience is the biggest thing. You might be like, man, I don't want to cook. That's why people have those rituals of cooking. But for now, just keep it simple. Just I just want you to know that macronutrients are super important to the body, not just as a calorie or as a carb, it messes with everything in your body. Just remember that. So that being said, unless there was something I gotta talk about, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming to the podcast. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you're listening to this after the fact, tune in on Wednesdays and Fridays at 11:30 a.m. I'll be going live every time for my health, fitness, nutrition podcast. If you do have a topic you want to talk about, mention it in the comments. Send me a DM, whatever you want. I'm streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I'm also posting this podcast on Spotify. Links are in bio. Come check me out.